Hi Mahendra, welcome back to the Motor Asha podcast. It's always
Hi,
good
good
to have you.
evening.
We thought we'd do this episode on suspensions and
Mm-hmm.
specifically to suspension upgrades
Okay.
and why moving from a stock setup to, either an aftermarket or for that matter, a proper upgrade, and what is a proper upgrade is beneficial to the way you ride a motorcycle.
All right.
So,
Okay.
my first question is, are stock suspensions really that bad?
Well, not really though. Not all the brands which comes under,
Hmm.
but yes, of course, there are certain companies like Ducatis,
Okay.
like Ducati Desert Sled. Whether you use the bike or not, I don't know how many people have come forward for this. If you don't use the bike for more than 6 months, the suspension starts leaking.
Okay. Yeah.
I have got cases close to about 6 bikes like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So other companies, they are only inclined towards, okay, the motorcycle, it's just like a user kind of a thing. But when it comes to suspension upgrades, there are a lot of other configurations which you need to do, which normally not many people would be keen on spending so much. The reason why they don't want to spend so much is they think, is it really an important thing or is it a necessity? But if you want to make your ride very pleasurable, the suspension upgrade is a must, irrespective of whatever motorcycle you ride.
Yeah. So is it more of a performance upgrade or is it more of a comfort factor?
It's inclined towards performance. It's inclined towards the actual stuff what you want to do with it.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, you can tweak it. Unlike if you ask me how a Versa 650 suspension is, you're only allowed to make it hard or soft in the rear end.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what about the dive in? What about the compression? What about the rebound?
Yeah.
See,
So,
all this, huh?
so all the adjustable dampening is not possible. I mean, mostly not possible on a stock setup, although
No, 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 no,
some
no. It's
bikes
not
do have
possible.
it. Yeah.
Not very bikes have got all those kinds of tweaks.
Yeah. So,
So,
what is
huh.
the upgrade then, finally?
See, you have advanced suspension setups like companies which are offering who are more inclined towards sport, touring, off-road, you know. Brands like WP, brands like Teorotech, brands like Wilbur, TFX, Allins, Kayaba, Sachs. They all come up with some or the other kind of a suspension which is required for the rider's, need and his weight category. Basically, when you're buying an aftermarket suspension, you're needed to give the complete profile of your weight, your complete profile of what you're going to use, where you're going to use this particular motorcycle in, and how much of percentage or ratio of your road usage or your off-road usage or your track usage or a sport usage. All these descriptions is required mandatorily when they have this completely filled up form, right? That's when they design the spring rate
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and the cartridge or probably the strut, which I can say.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, Wilbur's. Normally, if you're going in for a Wilbur 640 or a 632 or a 645, whatever the suspension setup is, they will ask you end of the day or when you're checking out in the cart, basically they'll ask you all these kinds of percentages, how much of time you're going to spend with your panniers, whether you're going to ride solo, whether you're going to ride with a pillion, what is the kind of terrain you're going to choose, and your weight, your rider's, your pillion's weight, plus with the riding gear, what is your exact weight and all those stuff. So based on that, they'll design the suspension. So once the suspension is designed as per the rider's requirement or his needs or his specification, then automatically the compression rebound, whatever he is going to tweak accordingly, or whether it's an on-road or off-road, he can do it in one go, no, rather than waiting to, tuning the fork coil, tuning this, tuning that.
Yeah.
How do you think all this Dakar people, riders perform well?
Mm.
So
It's not
the whole,
it's not the bike, it's the suspension that is a
yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I remember talking to a few of them and they keep telling me the same thing. It's like suspension is your insurance. it can save you from the worst
Yes,
accident.
definitely it can save you. See,
Yeah.
for example, on a GS, the original, whatever comes from the OEM,
Yeah.
right, the stacks, uh, it has got a dive-in limitations.
Mm. Mm.
So when you do a hard brake, the front dives in.
Yeah.
But if you have an advanced suspension and you tweak it according to your taste, the dive-in is restricted there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you will have more balance. You will have a more comfortable ride.
Yeah. So
I have performed 3 tests using on the same track or probably the same stretch of ruts wherever it is on a standard and on an aftermarket. It is way to go. There's a lot of difference. It's like ground and sky, you know.
yeah. Yeah. And I think the quality of parts, the
Yes,
quality
the
of
quality of parts, the struts, the spring, whatever they use, it's very much different.
yeah. Yeah. So if I was to bring you, say an ADV bike, I say, hey, here's an ADV bike. Limitations are that I'm not able to use, there's no adjustability in damping. Uh, if I have to start off from the front and then move to the rear, what would you suggest and recommend anyone to go and
See, there are initial things like, you know, when people want to make it more softer, more harder, when there is no tweak options.
yeah.
When I say there's no tweak options, that means there's no setting adjustments there on the fork tubes. So we normally tell them, okay, fine, you just try out with this. You know, the first step is your fork oil weight. The standard comes with 5 or 7, so you can advance it to 15 or 20.
Mm.
It's going to make it a little more harder. But if you want more of that and you want to tweak it according to your taste, how much do you need? Then you can go in for the fork springs, then you can go in for the fork cartridge from Allens or Kayaba. There are a lot of brands which makes all this advanced things.
Yeah.
Those will help you in getting, you know, reducing the dive in, but then it's the release part which comes out from the front, you know.
Rebound makes a difference, yes.
Yes, it does make a lot of difference.
Mm. So each and
So
everything can be individually.
yeah, you can tweak it individually.
Yeah.
You can definitely tweak it individually.
So that is basically, at the end of the day, the money that you're spending
Correct.
to get
Yes, of course.
adjustable,
And the
adjustable
first,
suspension.
the suspension upgrades on any bike, it's a big component,
Yeah.
and it's a big price too.
Yeah. I mean, I think that I always feel that the stock, the limitation is that, I mean, a manufacturer has to cater to so many people, demographics.
See, not everybody would want to do an off-road.
Yeah.
Not everybody would want to do an track,
Yeah.
but it's a mix and match. So what the manufacturer does is he keeps it into that 0 point limitations.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? But when it comes to advanced sports or an advanced touring or an advanced off-road, then you need to improvise on the tweaks. That is when you'll have a real fun of the bike.
Yeah. I mean, it's like putting yourself in a manufacturer's shoes and making a bike for somebody who is 80 kilos, 70 kilos, 120 kilos. So,
Could be.
how do you balance it? So I mean, like I said, it's a challenging thing for you and a manufacturer to make. But then once it's your bike, you know that you can actually make that for you, a suspension for you.
See, there are a lot of options wherein when you're trying to get an aftermarket suspension, you will really get to know the difference when you take the same bike which is with the OEM stock and ones with the aftermarket which you are actually designed as per your weight ratio,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if you take it to any kind of a terrain where it's like completely ruts or something like that, you'll get to know the difference. The compression, the dampening, the rebound, all this configuration will be set.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's another interesting thing that I noticed. Electronic suspensions that have come into the market. How different and what do they do differently to what a manual, you're doing? What are you doing with the clickers? Like what is how fast do they adjust?
It's actually preset. You know, it's actually preset from the manufacturer's thing. And you have, you know, something called as, for a GS, you have something called as dynamic, you have road, you have rain, and you also have something called as enduro.
Yeah. Yeah.
So each preset has got certain limitations of the spring rate. Basically, the advancement is either in the front or the back for the electronic. So it depends. If you press any of these modes, if you want it dynamic, it will be more road oriented.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you on a road on a track, you want much traction on the road. Your tires need much traction on the road. At the same time, even if you're hitting to the pothole, the compression and the rebound has to be quick and fast.
Yeah.
So it's all preset, right? In earlier days, you never used to have all these things. You needed to do a hand tweak.
Yeah.
And tweaking all this and coming to the setup part is going to be like a big yarn. So I don't want to get into that.
Yeah. So all you're saying is, I mean, we've manufacturers and suspension guys have made it now more easier for people just to ride a motorcycle and let the electronics do its thing. Yeah.
Let the electronic do the job, and it makes it more easier for even the rider also to keep it. But it's not up to that standard or up to that mark where the rider is comfortable. He feels that I needed some more. What if there is a betterment for a suspension, especially in the electronics? That's when the aftermarket people like Puretech, Wilbur, TFX, Sachs, Hayaba, everybody gets in, and all in too.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I've noticed personally is even when you buy a stock bike with fully adjustable suspensions, you don't see those many clicks and adjustability.
No.
As you would see.
So I think, on a stock Tiger, whatever, the adjustability is about 14, 15 clicks.
Yeah. A little more, yes. Yeah.
A little more, right?
Yeah.
But if you're going for an aftermarket, you will have up to 46.
Yeah. So basically you've got a whole big wide range of...
Yeah, wide range, and you will find the sweet spot when you click it in or tweak it in the right area.
Yeah, got it. Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly, like you said, that's where the money is.
Yeah. You want the best of the product, you need to shell out for more.
Yeah. So what would...
That's one.
I mean, I think I can ask you the last question. How much can these cost?
Okay, that's a good one. See, basically now if you're looking at a replacement suspension with your choice of your tweaks, right? With your spring rate, giving your right height, weight and width. I mean, complete weight of your bike and panniers and luggage and everything else. Your basic ESA, basically the electronic suspension adjustment setup. If it's an electronic vehicle, probably that will cost you somewhere between 2.8 to 3.5 lakhs.
Wow.
And that's, I'm talking only about, the front and the rear. So there's still the, what do you call, the steering stabilizer and all those things that even it makes it more comfortable.
Yeah. And a manual, I mean, not an electronic, but a manual suspension setup.
A manual suspension will cost you not less than about 2.5.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's a good investment.
It's a lifetime investment.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll make I mean, like I said, I've seen people who ride not that powerful bikes, like 40, 45 bhp bikes. I mean, for that matter, even a Dhaka bike is not as, they're not extremely, into the high 100 bhps, but the suspensions just make them go faster. That's about
it. Yes, that's it. That matters a lot.
Yeah.
That's probably the first investment which I did after I got my bike.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I planned it well, I knew it, what I needed. See, it's all a rider's choice.
Yeah.
A newbie who would want to use the same bike on road and then he wants to switch over to an off-road, he doesn't have much gap,
Yeah.
But he can tweak this if he's got the right setup of suspension.
Got it.
It's just a matter of clicks.
Yeah. Yeah.
You click it, you can change your bike from a road to an off-road. And if it's an electronic thing, you get the right suspension done or manufactured as per your requirements from the brands. You're on the go.
Yeah. Right. I think you've covered it well. I think the whole topic on damping is a different story altogether, which is what is
Yeah, that's what they are.
rebound. I know there's a lot of theories to it, and there's a lot of there's a lot of gyan on that. So I think I'll leave that to another day. But thanks for covering the topic, which is definitely what is the best upgrade on suspensions that I can do. So
Sure. No problem.
For covering that. Thanks for listening to this podcast. I want to hear your stories, your motorcycle experiences, what you've been doing, and how motorcycles have made your life better. So if you have something to say, DM us on Instagram, and I'll be more than happy to get you on this podcast.